Awesemo, here we go. It's your old pal Emac getting ready for a little Saturday MLB strategy show, joined by the one, the only Gun Dacker. Mr. Dacker, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Happy Saturday.
I love that I steal that from you every time. It's like an homage, but a little tweak at the same time.
Yeah. I remember when Alex tried to adopted it as like aloha, and when we would say goodbye, he would say "you're," like it was hello and goodbye. But all right, you're, dude. No, that's not how it works, bro. But yeah, man, your nation is sweeping rapidly through the chat rooms.
Absolutely. Yeah, we only have a couple of Saturday MLB slates left. The season rapidly winding down, about 2 weeks to go. We have playoff races. We have teams that are locked in. We have rookies that are hitting pitching caps. We have other teams that have more or less clinched and are giving guys extra days rest between starts and then not pushing them very hard. We're going to cover all of that for you because there are some pitfalls that we want you to avoid today on the old daily fantasy MLB sports front. But we are brought to you by Jock Market today. We'll talk about them in just a bit. But the key thing you want to remember is if you use the promo code Awesemo when you sign up, they will match you up to $50 with your first deposit. You put in $1, they give you $1. You put in 50, they give you 50. You put in 500, they still give you 50. We're working on that. But jump on in there, get in on $50. It'll be fun. We're also brought to you this morning by what is our fun show? The Betting You. We have 7 hours of live content on YouTube after us, plus 2 video on demands. We are going to precede the DFS college football live before lock, but Betting You is the betting podcast that comes out every Wednesday, covering and breaking down all the different spreads and props that are available. There are a lot of actionable items that come out in the Betting You podcast because lines are not as tight as they ought to be on these college football bets. So you definitely want to check that out, because by the time we get around to Saturday morning, most of them have become much, much more efficient and accurate, particularly the player props. But that's with Ben Raza and Matt Gajeski, who will also be the duo taking you into the college football live before lock. All right, Gundacker, let's start in here. We can talk about some other fun stuff later. But we have the Pittsburgh Pirates going into Philadelphia, taking on the Phillies. You have Will Crow, who's looking for another L for his name. I think he's going to add one to that today. See what I did there? Dad jokes for the win. What do you got here on Will Crow, and why should we not play him?
Yeah, well, Will Crow is just not really that good this year. An overall expected ERA of 5.39, a 1.58 whip, barrel rate kissing 10%. Phillies need wins. They are playing inspired baseball, so lock in. And yeah, really not any reason to consider some Will Crow today. Phillies with a 5.4 implied run total, so don't play Will Crow, but you could get away with some Ranger Suarez at 6,800 on the season, a 2.8 expected ERA. Has about a 1-in-4 K rate and just a 3% barrel rate. And I feel like the opportunity is a little too good at that price point to maybe not get to a little bit of them. Value being a little bit more subjective. I think he's underpriced, under 7K. He's gone 6 innings in 3 straight games. You give me a shot at six innings, a win, 14, 220 plus. Like, I'll take any of that in the range of outcomes. So I like Ranger Suarez. I like the Philly stack. Not there on Will Crow. And there's really nothing to like about the Pirates, specifically picking on Ranger Suarez. He has a elite ground ball rate, 56% overall at home this year, and just a 0.32 home run per 9.
All right, so we've besmirched Will Crow's good name. We're going to do that a little bit more. In his last 3 starts, those would be his September starts, an 8.25 ERA. These have come against the Nationals, the Cubs, and the Marlins. Not exactly a top shelf gauntlet of offenses across 27 career outings, 26 starts, 1 relief appearance. He has an 11.3 walk rate and is allowing a 240 plus ISO to batters of both sides of the plate. Are you ready for this one? Bryce Harper, in his last 546 lefty-righty matchups, a 452 WOBA, a 354 ISO, and an 18% walk rate. I think he's going to start off our stacks. Who else do you like on the Philly side of things?
Yeah, Harper's definitely right now I think he might take the NL MVP. Around him,
I think he's missed about 20 games compared to the other guys. I think that might come back and bite.
The other guy is Tatis, who definitely missed 2 games. I think
point taken.
Yeah, I think at this point Harper's almost become the odds-on favorite. Around him against Will Crow. Crow's allowing power to both sides of the plate, 2+ against righty. So you can mix in a McCutchen here and there, Gene Segura, guys like that. If Realmuto did play, I don't know if he caught last night. Sometimes they get a little froggy, but this being an afternoon game and a must-win scenario games you're supposed to win, there's a good shot I think Realmuto does hit this lineup. So there's not anybody in this projected lineup I would not play. And Odubel Herrera is continuing to be a little too cheap on FanDuel if he's going to lead off. Just a great opportunity at under 3K.
All right, I'm just going to call up the box score. JT Realmuto has been playing first base somewhat as well. Yesterday he did catch. The only tricky part is if he's going to be in at first base. Well, Brad Miller will probably play another position. Odd man out might be Freddie Galvis, potentially Didi Gregorius, but we'll have to check and see because we have Brad Miller incredibly cheap on FanDuel and DraftKings. You've got Didi Gregorius, who's equally as cheap over there on Yahoo, as well as being cheap on FanDuel and DraftKings. That is your early value thus far. Moving on to our next one here, we've got a bit of a tight matchup here. Basically a pick'em. We don't see that very often in baseball. You've got Houston going into Oakland for an afternoon game. You have Framber Valdez on the mound going against lefty Sean Manaea. The keynotes on this game: Oakland is 4 games out of the wild card. The season is ticking down. However, between them and Boston and New York, that has the 2 wild card spots at the moment, is Seattle and Toronto, who are both 2 games ahead of them. We're calling that out just because some of the pitchers we'll talk about may go extra. Like even though he wasn't great last night, the Mariners rookie whose name is escaping me at the moment, Gilbert, is those are the kind of guys that they'll probably shut them down when they're out of the playoffs, but they were like, no, we're going to ride you today if we can. And then we'll, because we're mathematically probably not going to make it, we need the win now. And if it doesn't happen, then we're just going to shut you down anyway. So you want to keep an eye on some of the pitchers like that. We'll also talk about some of the pitchers that are out of it, like Tariq Skubal. He's basically on we'll talk about him in a moment, but he's on kind of a soft 3 innings or 50 pitch limit, and he's getting extra rest between starts. Basically what Detroit has said with him and Miz and blanking on their other guy, Matt Manning, they're giving them each of them an extra day or 2 between starts. They want them to continue to go through the steps and the motions of starting, but they're not going to push them at all. And basically they're going to go 3-4 innings tops for those guys. So that's something you want to be cognizant of. We try to put those in the pitcher projections. Sometimes in the early runs, it's defaulting off some of the older numbers. We'll tighten those up when we get there, because of course the contributors are all looking at these and pointing it back out to Alex and company, who is doing the projections behind the scenes. Sean's on is doing those, Steve Buzzard, etc. So sometimes you'll see a little weird one. We'll call those out. We try to catch them in the projections, but occasionally the trailing data ends up goosing it a little more than we want it to at this point of the year. All right, Gundacker, that was a lot of me talking. Back to you. Framber Valdez, Sean Manaea. Any hitters in this game?
Yeah, I think he get away with some Astros here. Sean Manaea is, he's a guy that can have really strong games. You have games where he just completely implodes. Astros, I think one of the top road teams in WRC plus and one of the top teams against lefties, might be trying to come back for a little revenge. Last night, Frankie Montas, 7 innings strong, and the Athletics offense went off here. So good little bounce back spot, I guess, platoon wise. We got a lot of Astros batting 280 plus since the beginning of last year with a lot of 200 plus ISO. So not a give me matchup for Manaea by any stretch. And Manaea's less effective split is his platoon to righties, nearly a 4 xFIP, a 278 average allowed, and a 131 home run per 9. So there is some wiggle room here for the Astros to get through, and maybe Oakland plays a little bit more favorable to hitters during this day game versus the typical night result. So I don't hate some Astros stacks here. I probably don't get to Minaya. I'm just not comfortable pitching against the Astros, but we do have him as a 21% chance of being a top 2 pitcher on this early slate, according to our top pitchers tool. And he's 26% owned. So he's being reflected in that projected ownership, but it's just not like a spot that's going to be the warm and fuzzy. So I'm more on the Astro side. Framber Valdez, also somebody that I don't get the warm and fuzzies on. Athletics don't really offer up a ton of strikeout potential. Just Matt Olson, Matt Chapman in this projected lineup with elevated K rates. Chapman's really elevated, and Valdez has not been a big strikeout guy. Just 22% overall this season with a 10% swing and strike rate. But like I definitely wouldn't push people off of either one of these pitchers if they wanted to get here. It is a smaller condensed slate. So I like a pitcher plus park. I get it. Athletics put up a lot of runs in cool temperatures in Oakland last night. So it's definitely not out of their range of outcomes, and they do need to win. So mathematically, the probability is a bit low at this point, but they're not dead yet. And they got to go until they can't.
Yep. Framber Valdez has faced 54 or has 54 at bats against current Athletics. They have not gotten a home run. They actually only have 2 extra base hits, but they've been hitting them pretty good for average, 288 average there. Most of that consolidated with the people you would expect, Conha, Pinder, Chapman, etc. Minaya has horrible power BVP against the key hitters here for Houston. Just interesting to call out, even though this should not be an actionable item. It's something that is just kind of interesting. Kyle Tucker, 5 for 15, 3 home runs. Alex Bregman, 10 for 32, 3 home runs. Jose Altuve, only 10 for 41, but he does have 2 home runs and a double. Yuli Gurriel, a home run, 4 doubles in 40 at bats. So this is a rough situation. This is one of those where the pitchers could do well, the hitters could do well. Anything is in play for this one, and it's definitely a playoff atmosphere. So that it feels like let it kind of sprinkle in if you're doing mass multi-entry. Otherwise, not really a vote of confidence on either side here. Our next game, however, we have the Yankees at Boston, because of course it is fall and we can't have a fall weekend without this series occurring. We have like a 10.5 implied run total here. You've got Nestor Cortez. Gunn doesn't like him that much. The pucker factor tends to be high. Cortez kind of works himself out of trouble from time to time, but that implosion is always looming. And then you have Nick Pivetta, yikes, going against that Yankee lineup. Feels like a no bueno pitcher matchup here. Would you consider either pitcher, considering we just have 10 to choose from on our 5-game afternoon slate, or is this all hitters for you?
I don't know, a little bit of Nestor. Nestor's just kind of a wonky guy that steals strikeouts because of a little more unorthodox approach, some different arm slots, and changes up his cadence, his quick pitches, stuff like that. So a lot of times his xFIP will project to be bad and his results are good. And at this point, just watching him work, he's not just your uniformed pitch by numbers type of guy. So you understand him a little bit more when you get to watch him. But the Red Sox are still a good offense. And I think this is probably the most meaningful game of baseball in the league right now, other than, the Dodgers and the Giants in their games fighting for that division. You mentioned it, Red Sox, Yankees, and Blue Jays are all just like in a Rochambeau circle trying to get into the wild card spot here. Yankees came out really strong last night, and they get Nick Pivetta, and you would think that they should be able to get to Nick Pivetta if they can get to Eovaldi. In our top stacks tool, which is free to use today, the Yankees have a 17% chance of being the number 1 stack, the highest on this early slate, with a 26% ownership share. So a little bit of negative leverage, but I kind of agree with it. Meanwhile, Boston is third with a 13.6% chance and a 15% ownership share. So you're going to get better ownership numbers, it looks like, on any team not named the Yankees. We tend to see the field be very reactive to when Yankees have good games. But yeah, it's hard to have the warm and fuzzies about either pitcher. But maybe, just maybe, the Red Sox put away those yellow uniforms now that they've finally taken an L. No Pivetta for me. I'll get to some Cortez, but wouldn't really be much. I'd be looking at both offenses out there in a day game at Fenway to kind of bring the fire.
All right, yeah, those yellow uniforms, just it's not them. It's truly not them.
They got into the superstitious side, and we're getting all the wins out of them.
I understand that. I believe it was whatever year the way back in the day in the 90s, the 49ers ended up wearing their white on white uniform a bunch because they kept winning. And I think that was ultimately the year they beat San Diego in the Super Bowl. And I just remember them seemingly wearing those uniforms constantly. Well, it was one of my favorite teams back then because I liked Joe Montana and Steve Young. That was the Steve Young year. Neither here nor there. Gundecker, we had a last minute update. It's not top stacks. It's actually going to be MLB top pitchers that are free today. But Gundecker alluded to top stacks. Hey, those are free this week in NFL. So you can check that out. We got you covered. Those are two of our better tools that are out there and the free Awesemo content that is available to you. If you guys want 25% off a 1-week Awesemo Platinum package, you can utilize the promo code MLB Strategy Show. That'll get you 25% off the 1-week package. So check that out. And I think we're always, yes, it is MLB Strategy Show. They've added, they made the live before lock LBL because it was getting too long. I was trying to think, what do we call the strategy show? I think we're still calling it that. So promo code MLB Strategy Show gets you 25% off your first week of Awesemo Platinum. You can, of course, find the link to activate that coupon in this video below, or pardon me, below us on the YouTube channel. And then if you just want to jump in for 1 week of MLB, you can get the express package for $4.95. Stop guessing, start winning. Try Awesemo today. Next game, we good for that?
Is that a question or declarative statement?
That was. I was just going to see how long one of us was going to break. Producer Jordan just shaking his head.
Jordan, huh?
Oh boy. Well,
boy, this is awkward.
Now producer Tyler has left the room. The inmates are running the asylum. It's your old pal.
Oh my God.
We may not get him back. Oh boy, my apologies. Well, we'll have to say go Texas A&M. I will be rooting for the 12th men today. Ouch. Sorry there.
Yikes.
Kansas City, Detroit. Mentioned that Scooble's on that soft cap, 50 pitches or 3 innings. I would just take him out of the player pool. On the other side, you have Heasley. Not overly exciting there for Kansas City. I think we can look for hitters here. And this is the rare game where Detroit actually favored and has, favored, which makes sense. They also have the higher implied run total at 4.7. That surprised me a little bit in this game. How are you feeling about this battle of the Midwest?
Yeah, man, it's like the last 2 weeks of NBA, and this is the Kings and the old Suns game or something, right? This is like, what is this game for? It's really not for anything. John Heasley, for what it's worth, in the minors, was a little bit of a strikeout guy, 105 innings, 120 strikeouts, and looking at his splits here, 245 average allowed basically to both sides of the plate, but a whip that went over 1.2. And a lot of power allowed to both sides, but especially lefty. So maybe we keep that in our back pocket for maybe in a Kill Badu, Robbie Grossman plus situation. Looking at this Comerica Park, looks like 60 degrees. So Detroit getting a little bit ready for fall weather. So maybe it's just a bunch of mediocrity all the way around, and we don't get in your face results. But looking at our top stacks tool, for either team, we got KC at a almost 11% chance of being a top stack, about 14% owned, and just about mirrored in Detroit. So looks like our probabilities is that, hey, this game is a bunch of who's that at pitching, and there's at least a 10% chance that offensively they'll both come through. We know the Tigers bullpen has really not been anything overwhelming the last couple of years. And the Royals, as you mentioned, these teams that are starting to shut down, they start exercising some of their young guns to see what they got. So definitely a chance for offense to get through here. For cherry picking Royals, Obviously, Salvador Perez, one of the league leaders in homers. He can hit for a lot of power against Skubal. That's going to break the bomb detector probably. Skubal being on a short leash will at least get one look at Salvi. So I like Salvi's chances there. And then maybe with Merrifield and Mondesi to an extent to get through. But Mondesi, you got to go up there and get him at 5,800 on DK. On the Tiger side, mentioned Akil Badu would kind of rise to the top to me if I'm looking for Heasley's platoon numbers against lefties. And then at the same time, Heasley does have some strikeout potential. So maybe I'd get a little freaky with it and have a share or two of Heasley just to see what happens. Tigers have been known to give up big games to who's that pitching.
All right, final game. We've got a couple of Florida teams here. Miami up in Tampa Bay taking on the Rays. You have Sandy Alcantara going against Shane McClanahan. McClanahan has been one of the better rookie pitchers this season. Clearly, he's behind Alek Manoah and a couple others, but he has been relatively solid. We have Tampa Bay 4 games behind Houston for the best record in the American League. I call that out because there is still reason for them to continue to win, especially with Houston in that tough series right now with Oakland. If they can clinch that home field advantage, it would definitely help them in their playoff race. They are not going to catch best MLB record because the Dodgers and the Giants are well enough ahead of them. They're not going to get them. But what I do want to point out here is McClanahan, solid pitching option, good choice for today. He has gone 5 innings in each of his last 3 starts, most recent dipping back, 64, 68, and 88 pitches. I like him to get to 5 today. They're not going to have him go more than 5. If things get a little squirrely, I don't think they're going to have him go more than 70, 75 pitches. If he gets into any jams, they're going to need him in the playoffs. So no issues there. I'm perfectly comfortable playing him. Miami's coming in with a 2.9 implied run total, but I just want us all to be cognizant that he is not going to get more than 5 innings. Now, in his last 3 starts, 5 innings apiece, 18 strikeouts. He can definitely get there for the fantasy points for what we need. He can also be in the position to get the win as long as the Rays put up a couple runs. Sandy Alcantara is an excellent pitcher. I like him as well in this one. I would give him probably the slider nod over just because I think he has the chance to get 7 innings in today. So I would put him over McClanahan. But these are 2 of the pitchers that I think we want to focus on this afternoon slate. I'm just pulling it up to make sure here. So in his 4 September starts, Alcantara's gone 103, 96, 114, and 98 pitches. So he had a little bit of injury, digged up a little bit earlier in the season, but he's definitely stretched out. And I think they want to give him at least this start and one other. So I don't suspect they're going to curtail his innings by any stretch or his pitch count by any stretch. So just a little additional flavor on that. Either of these pitchers stand out to you or where? Let me rephrase that. Of course they do. Where do they rank for you on this slate and then any hitters?
So I think the value on Ranger Suarez would have him as like my top, but looking at the ownership projections, it looks like I'm not alone in that sentiment. Alcantara is a guy that tends to do a little bit better at home in Miami, but Tampa being a pitcher's park as well, kind of similar conditions, a dome to it. Maybe we can get some of that home field results. He averages about 6 fantasy points more in Miami than he does on the road, but Tampa Bay surprisingly has high strikeout numbers in this projected lineup. Brandon Lau, G-Man Choi, Nelson Cruz, Randy Arozarena, Mike Zunino, and Kevin Kiermaier can all strike out almost 1 in 4 or greater. So I do think there's a decent range of outcomes where Alcantara can get you 25 and be a top 2 scoring pitcher on the slate. And we currently have that as an outcome that happens 32% of the time at 28% ownership. So I'm mathematically, I'm willing to be even with the field just because Alcantara is that good. And then when it comes to McClanahan, I don't think we're going to get a lot of innings out of him. I think we see his top 2 percentage kind of dip down a little bit, but value can be a little bit more subjective on these smaller slates. I don't necessarily need 30 from McClanahan. I just need him to be a top, 3-4 scoring pitcher on the slate and make some lineups happen. And I think, pre-flop, I'm looking at Alcantara, I'm looking at Ranger Suarez. Pivetta and Cortez have a lot of, I don't know about that to them. Valdez, Minaya also a little bit tricky. So if McClanahan got you 20, that dog just might hunt and maybe scoops up a win. So I don't mind getting to either one of these pitchers. I definitely feel like I'm more inclined to get to the pitchers than the offenses here. The Marlins have just a 2.9 implied run total, and that's pretty low. So yeah, give me exposure to both these pitchers.
All right. Before we get into the main slate, shout out to Josh Gillum, who's in chat. Says he won 20K last night. A little MLB action there. If you're still listening, Josh, I'm going to drop the link in here. This is to get the Awesemo avatar promo. If you tweet at Awesemo_COM and Awesemo HOF, that stands for Awesemo Hall of Fame, follow the instructions there on the link that I just dropped in. If you have a screenshot, wink, wink, nod, nod, add the Awesemo avatar real quick and send it in. Get that out there on social media and get 30 free days of Awesemo premium content. If you finish top 3, no ties, top 3 in any contest with at least 5,000 entries and follow the instructions on that link that I just dropped in there, then you too can win 30 free days of Awesemo premium content.
That makes me a little proud because it wasn't but a week ago. Emad's a Fortnite streamer. Wasn't about a week ago, Josh, I was talking to Josh and he was ready to quit MLB DFS. Like the variance was getting to him. And I was like, bro, I'm telling you, these swings happen. If I would have let him walk a week ago, he'd be $20,000 poorer. So I'm happy. I'm even happier to see that because we got him to stay on the ledge.
Very nice. That is a fun story behind the scenes. Again, we embrace the variance here. This is why I always say no slates off. I'm playing all the sub slates and all the other stuff. It helps normalize things for baseball. For some reason, I can completely handle the baseball variance. The NFL kills me every week. It's such an excruciating thing, because I play not compared to everybody else, but I usually play $200 or so a slate for baseball and for NBA. Now on NFL, I'm playing between $1,500 and $2,000 a weekend, especially when you're playing in those full slates or whatever. All of a sudden, your winnings can be way up, and you go look and you see, oh crap, I've stacked the early games in these lineups. I have nothing coming, and oh my God, there's 4 amazing late games. Or you're down there losing all day because you have the late games. It just that kills me more than the baseball variance because I know I've done baseball long enough, 32 years of fantasy baseball under my belt, 10 in DFS. I can handle the variance there. Football is an entirely different story. So all we're saying, Josh, is, if you guys need to take a break, take a break. If you're getting a little stressed out, you might be wanting to try a different format, maybe dial it back, play one of the other sites such as Jock Market or something that's a little different, kind of clear your head, do something a little out of the norm just to kind of reset yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. This is a fun sport, and there will always be DFS games tomorrow if you want to take a day off today. That's your mental health and sanity is much more important than trying to have to redeposit or hoping you win or just missing out. All right, on to our main slate here, but let's hit real quick our friends at Jock Market. They, of course, have put a twist on a DFS sports. They've turned the fantasy sports into a stock exchange. You don't have to wait till the end of the game to make money. You can buy, sell, or hold, and now even short your players in real time for real money with guaranteed payout at the end of each night. They, of course, have NFL. They've got NHL right around the corner. NBA's right around the corner. They got MLB going on right now and PGA. Use the pregame IPO to pick up shares of your favorite players. Then, of course, buy, sell, or hold during the game based upon your analysis. If someone's doing really, really well, you may want to offload them. If someone has a poor start, you may want to see if anybody wants to sell their shares. Excuse me, that's how you arbitrage the value. Use the promo code Awesemo. That'll get you a $50 deposit match with your first bonus or with your first deposit via that bonus. And of course, it is Jock Market. They have the app in Google Play, the App Store, as well as jockmarket.com. All right, main slate here. We've got 7-gamer, I believe. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9-gamer. There was between the double headers yesterday and the all-day slates and everything, my brain is a little mushy. I've been up since 6:30 writing and doing show sheets, but here we go. Let's start off with our Texas at Baltimore. Starting pitchers, Jordan Lyle, Chris Ellis. Jordan Lyles, leads the league with 37 home runs, yet somehow I think he has 12 wins. I'm not sure how this works. His home runs, while there have been a lot of them, I think he has a 5.12 ERA, somewhere around there. I'm going off memory right now, but he tends to luck out into solo shots. But he does allow a lot of solo shots. What are you thinking here? The batters of Birdland in play, the anemic Texas Rangers going against that Baltimore Orioles abysmal bullpen and even worse group of starting pitchers. What do we have here? Fireworks, I hope.
Yeah, the first thing that kind of stuck out to me is, do I think there's value in the over-under of 9? Because these are two not great pitchers and two exploitable bullpens, especially that Orioles bullpen. Lyles is giving us a 5.54 expected ERA on the season, and Chris Ellis is at a 5.43, neither which are good. And Ellis is severely overperforming what his actual ERA is. So regression should be on the way. Lyles on the road this season, over a 2 home run per 9. Sometimes Globe Life can act as a pitcher's park when they keep the lid on. And that's kind of what we've been seeing. So I like this game to just be sloppy baseball with some scoring. I kind of was on that yesterday, and I'd be right back to the well here. I think it's very, very viable to get to some Ranger stacks, to some Baltimore stacks, and looking at our top stacks tool. Both these stacks come with a little bit of lucrativity. I maybe they're over owned versus our probability of them being a top stack. At least the Baltimore side is, Texas is as well. But I think they got a chance to deliver here. I think they're really kind of cheap on both sides, and they're easy to fit in a lineup with some of the aces of the slate, the Corbin Burns, Robbie Rays, Lance Lynn's, guys like that. So I'm definitely a buyer of Camden today. Sloppy pitching, a lot of times bad hitting can beat bad pitching. So I'm not going to have any exposure to either arm.
All right. Next one, we have some interesting pitchers here. We've got 41-year-old Rich Hill going into Milwaukee, taking on Corbin Burns, who is on the short list for the National League Cy Young Award. Hill has not allowed more than 3 runs in 13 of his last 14 starts. That's pretty impressive. Remember how often he was going out when he was with the Dodgers with split fingernails and blisters? Now that I've just jinxed him, we'll have to see. But the way he throws his a slider, tends to tear up his fingers. So fingers crossed that he makes it through this one now that I've brought that to light. Burns on the other side, because he is pitching for potential awards, I don't think we have to worry about him being pulled early, though he has gone 6, 8, and 5 innings in his last few starts, and 6, 6, and 6. But prior to that, it's more of a function because he has a lot of strikeouts. He uses up his pitches. His last 2 starts, 101 pitches and 115 pitches. I think 100 pitches is in play here for us. Those last 2 starts, 11 strikeouts and 14 strikeouts. Now, remember, he was sort of flirting with that no-hitter essentially there 2 starts ago. Ultimately, I believe that ended up being a combined no-hitter, but he went 8 innings without allowing a hit. So he has had a lot of what we will call stressor pitches, but he's been pretty good. This is a nice matchup for him. The Mets have sort of been all over the place with their offense. They do have pretty much everybody healthy once again, but oh my God, even with 2 of the best shortstops in the game, they're still the LOL Mets.
Yeah, one of the fun things to track right now is the Cy Young odds in really both leagues, with Garrett Cole versus Robbie Ray, and then Max Scherzer versus Corbin Burns. And then after every start, like Max Scherzer had a rough start in Coors the other day, you feel like Burns has a shot to jump in front. And the last 2 starts, with Garrett Cole got imploded against the Indians, you felt like Robbie Ray could bounce back, and then he had a rough start. So this is a great opportunity for Robbie Ray to kind of be, hey, I'm above Max again. It's a fun race, and it is definitely a much better spot than being in Coors. So put a little context if the voters look at that. I still think Max just kind of is on a different level, but Corbin Burnes has just been elite. And in this spot today, I would be very bullish on loading up on Burnes. We have him projected to be 51% owned, about 10% higher than his probability of being a top 2 pitcher. And it's just one of those spots where I'm fine with it. There's only a couple pitchers I'll get to at that ownership, your DeGroms, your Burnes, your Maxes, depending on the matchup. And this is one of those spots where I'll just invest in it and take it. And whether or not I masterfield or go a little bit over it remains to be seen, but it's a good spot. Mets have a lot of 1-4, 1-5 K rates. And after yesterday, it just seems like you can get away with a lot against the Mets here. It's just kind of a dejected final couple weeks for their situation. So give me some Burnes. Rich Hill on the other side does allow some power to righties. Willie Adames, Avi Garcia would probably be a guy that sticks out a lot to me. Eduardo Escobar, I don't mind getting there. And then Yelich got himself a bomb yesterday, and he's a guy that since the beginning of last year does have decent power against both sides of the plate. So I'm not really that interested in Hill, but you can give me Burnes at a high clip, but the entire field will be on it.
All right. And then I did want to point out, I didn't quite finish my thought. Milwaukee is pretty well clinched into their playoff spot. They can't really improve or lose ground, but that's why I wanted to call out where Corbin Burnes I don't think is going to be on a short leash, because he does have a real chance of getting the Cy Young Award this season. All right, let's continue on here. Let's go over to see what Washington and Cincinnati is doing. You have Eric Fede going against Gutierrez here. Fede, God, he had some moments. Of course, those moments came against the Marlins. He has allowed 3 home runs in 2 of his last 3 games, going against even a somewhat depleted Cincinnati squad, missing a bunch of their lefties right now. I can't endorse Fede in this matchup. Gutierrez on the other side is going to be in my player pool. Fede won't be completely out of it. I'll cap him at 10. Gutierrez, I'd be interested in going up to about 20%, going against the Nationals, who are, while they do get a park upgrade, not particularly terrifying, aside from Josh Bell and, of course, Juan Soto. You do know Juan Soto. He leads the league with a 325 average, or at least he did going into last night's game. Wow.
Little Nats fan over here. This is why EMAC was.
Well, it's because you reminded me that Max Scherzer's not on my team anymore.
And then the realization that Bryce Harper might be MVP.
That's okay. 2019 World Series. That's all they need.
It was worth it. So yesterday this game was 8-7, right? Ballpark just will play sometimes, even if a guy like Sonny Gray's on the mound. Great American Ballpark can just put up numbers. So I'm on this game for offense for sure. Reds have a 5.4 implied run total. Nats at 4.7. Like you, I'm not really too enamored with either pitcher. There was a glimmer of hope for Eric Fede, a couple of big games out of him, but matchup and context applicated. I'm not likely to follow up on him being the good Fede here, and he might get Fede whopped. So I'm in on the Reds offense, and you might even give me some Nats. I don't mind a little shootout here. And then price wise, while the Reds do have a bunch of 5K plus guys, they do have some guys like Max Schrock at 2,800 and a couple 4K guys that aren't that hard to get to. And then on the Nat side too, it looks like finally Elaine Thomas is getting a little bit of respect in his DraftKings pricing. For a while, he was just set and forget it. But yeah, I like this game for offense. Our top stacks tool doesn't like it as much as I do, about 6% chance for each team to be a top stack. But even at a 6% chance, we got them at 4 and 2% ownership. So there's still a little bit of leverage to be had on such low numbers. And I think those numbers would be higher if the Giants and the Dodgers weren't on the slate. So it's just in context versus the juggernauts in great hitting conditions versus this game. But I like this game to be a shootout.
All right, half a dozen games to go. We got about 30 more minutes before we are going to give way to College Football Live Before Lock with Matt Gajeski and Ben Raza. That is going to kick off another 7 hours of live content here on, I almost said 7 hours of commercial-free football. Let's go, Scott Hansen. We'll be yelling that tomorrow. But 7 hours of live Awesemo content. We have, of course, baseball live before lock. We have MMA live before lock, NASCAR strategy show. It's a night race tomorrow in Las Vegas, of all things. So that one is going to be kind of interesting. And then, of course, we have 3 NFL shows, but gets you all going here with the college football live before lock coming up next. That will be Ben Rasa and Matt Kajeski. They'll be giving some prop bets. They'll be giving some outright bets, and of course, covering the DFS matchups for those noon and 3:30 Eastern games. Our next game here for the old MLB, we have Lance Lynn going against Eli Morgan here. Lynn is in absolute maintenance mode right now. He is pitching literally once per week. We saw him last Saturday. The start before that was a Sunday. The start before that was a Saturday. He's going to throw about 85 pitches. The White Sox have an amazing offense. They have solid pitching. They want to make a deep postseason playoff run here, which makes me a little bit concerned about looking towards Lance Lynn. He will not be out of my player pool, but I'm only expecting 85 pitches from him today. That's enough to get 5 innings qualify for the win, maybe 6 if he's lucky. On the other side, Eli Morgan, no bueno, no interest in him. I do like most of the Chi Sox hitters. What is your read on this game?
So, I mean, that information on Lance Lynn is really, really interesting. We know that they've been protecting their starters. If La Russa holds Lynn to a hard cap here, and our ownership projections hold up, we have Lynn as the second highest pitcher on the slate. So that might be enough information to push back on that, just to feel like we're getting a glass ceiling if it's only 5 innings, 85 pitches, something like that. The caveat being, there's an above 0% chance the Indians get no hit on any given game. So I think Lance Lynn's a beast of a pitcher. I
mean, 21 strikeouts in his last 15 in the third innings. He can get the fantasy points for us. There is a cap to it, as Gundacker said.
Yeah, absolutely. It may be one of those. I get a little bit more of them on DraftKings, efficiency site, 9K. I can get away with 18, 20. FanDuel, where we really want that quality start. If we don't think 6 innings is as common of an outcome, maybe I lean back a little bit on FanDuel. But yeah, it's the Indians. He's definitely in the pool here. But if he comes in at 40+% owned, and I do find myself like enamored with the chalkier Dodgers and Giants stacks, then maybe Lance Lynn's how I get a little different. Just hope that 80 pitches holds him back, and he has an average 5 innings. So something to think about. Matchup wise, Eli Morgan, 6.64 xFIP at home this season, an expected ERA of 5.32 overall. Really, really not great. Almost a 13% barrel rate, high fly ball rate. White Sox haven't broke a slate in a while, but maybe this is a good spot to awake the sleeping Giants. Definitely a team that's come down in price. Only 2 5K guys. The rest of this lineup, a bunch of 4K specials. So I don't mind them being a little bit sneaky. We have them as our third highest top stack within about a mirrored ownership. So I don't mind getting to them as in mass entry as a stack that I believe in. So I'll have some exposure to that offense. But yeah, the question is what to do with Lance Lynn. And I think I'll be mulling that one over all day and keeping an eye on what his ownership projections look like before lock.
All right. Skimmer in chat says, Emac, I think you may have skipped the Minnesota game. I flip-flopped what I gave to Tyler, so we'll hit that one next. My apologies. You are correct. They're coming up. I didn't forget them. I just skipped them on that particular order. And then Aaron D says they didn't restrict Cease last night. Well, did they? He only threw 82 pitches. Now, he did get hit on a comebacker after getting, I think he had 9 or 10 strikeouts in the game. I was watching that. But they pulled him just into the 6th inning when he got hit there. He's day-to-day, expected to make his next start. That may be a moment that terrifies Tony La Russa, who says, let's not keep these people out there as much. And then with regards to Cease, he's on that same basically once a week schedule. His last starts have been Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So he's over the last month, like his counterparts, he's only made 5 starts, where normally you would make 7 or 8 in that particular time, or 7, I guess, in that particular time frame.
There was a couple. It was also a 1-run ball game, right?
Yeah.
Like if this
he was on fire. He was striking literally everybody out.
Yeah.
Now pulled.
He had 9
strikeouts. Yeah, so it was pretty impressive.
He was crushing it, but yeah, just 82 pitches, and then he got hurt. But yeah, that injury might be an eye opener. Yeah. And they said for sure he'll miss his next start. So and pitchers don't like to be completely shut down going into the playoffs, especially these teams that are gonna skip that first, the first round, the wild card, whatever. So you want to keep them in practice, but yeah, there's definitely reason to not go too crazy over 80 pitches. But maybe we're overthinking it. We'll see.
Yeah. And Aaron D says he stands corrected. No, this is the kind of analysis within the narrative that we have to start looking at this time of year. The only thing that's kind of helpful is that they changed it to there's no roster expansion to 40 players like it used to be. 2 years ago was the last time they did that. That was just disaster for DFS because literally there were no salary caps at that point because there were so many free hitters coming up and getting starts. So fortunately we don't have to deal with that, but always good to just double check things because these are the little edges that are left, and it's the diehards that are playing baseball at this point in the year. So definitely need to find any little leverage spot that you can. Back to Toronto and Minnesota. Didn't forget you, just sort of skipped over you. Robbie Ray. How can we forget Robert Ray? 12-6, 2.72 ERA. How he does that, I don't know. He has suddenly discovered how to not walk batters. Gundacker. That's something that's new. We have Gant going on the other side. Toronto is 2 games out of the wild card spot. They are tied with Seattle, who are also 2 games out. It is going to be cooler there in Minnesota. Robbie Ray, he's on the short list. This is an important game. I'm figuring he should be able to go with whatever pitches he would normally for his pitch count. Thoughts on this game?
Yeah, you got to go all in for a win here. Blue Jays 2 games back from the Yankees in that second wild card spot. They will have a 3-game set with the Yankees after this. For whatever reason, it feels like the Twins have the Blue Jays numbers. They went up into Rogers Center a couple weeks ago and kind of stunned them. So yesterday they got stunned again, just 1 run offensively. Today they get John Gant, an above average chance to get some runs here, and Robbie Ray on top of chasing the playoffs. He did become an odds-on favorite to win that AL Cy Young. So he's got a little bit of reason to pitch even beyond the playoffs if finances are your thing. So 10.4K on Robbie Ray. We got him projected to be a 26% in ownership. I think the main reason Robbie Ray isn't the highest owned pitcher on the slate is because Corbin Burns exists. So at a 27% chance of being a top 2 pitcher and a 26% ownership, maybe if you wanted to come down from Burns a little bit, you go to Robbie Ray. But this Twins team has been so scrappy lately. You feel like, man, remember coming into the season, we thought the Twins would be good. And I think their pitching fell flat and a couple of injuries offensively. But with Byron Buxton, Polanco, Donaldson, Sano, they got some guys that can still scrap with you. Luis Ariz, a low K rate guy, and Nick Gordon's coming into his own. So a little bit more scrapper than you would like, but Robbie Ray is just in that upper echelon of pitching where he can get strikeouts on anybody. And as good as this Twins offense has been, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys with a 25% or greater strikeout rate against lefties since the beginning of last year. So it is a spot that Robbie Ray should thrive. And in Minnesota, we're dealing with cooler temps at 65 degrees. So shouldn't be anything excessive. So I do like Robbie Ray, just mathematically speaking. I will have him as likely my second highest owned pitcher. Could be neck and neck with Burns, depending on how different I want to get with Lance Lynn later. And then offensively, like I said, John Gant, a 5.11 expected ERA. His results have been far better than the expectation of 1.47 whip. You mentioned Robbie Ray has stopped walking people. Well, John Gant has not. So if he's going to put a couple free guys on and, get some ducks on the pond for a Vladdy at bat, a Teoscar at bat, somebody like that, it could be a long day for the Twins pitching staff.
All right. I am just looking here because these turkeys posted my article that was in draft form. You can't send out the spotlight pitchers and top stacks article when I haven't written the pitchers yet. So whoever just did that, if you're watching, go turn that one off. Jeez Louise. The one time I don't get it all done before our show is the one time somebody jumps ahead and pre-schedules the tweets. Darn it. They get so they're so used to me getting up at the crack of dawn and having these all written before I go on air. It didn't happen today. Sorry about that. In any event, neither here nor there. Let's get back to the task at hand. Continuing along here, Gundacker, let's see. We are now on Atlanta versus San Diego. So I believe now it is officially going to be Vincent Velasquez who's going to be starting. They were bouncing around this morning. There might have been an opener. They still, I can't think of his name. The lefty, I think his name's Ryan, or first name's Ryan. He may end up being in. Didn't even go look and see if he pitched last night. But in any event, it's Velasquez is going to be the bulk guy. We want to know this because he is not good anymore. He really shouldn't be in the league. He was picked up off of waivers after he was outright released by Philadelphia. The San Diego is just, they're an absolute dumpster fire. That little the gif of the dumpster fire floating down the river, that's San Diego right now. Their starting rotation all hurt. Their offense is literally been one of the worst in the league over the last 30 days. Little arguing in the dugout. It's just everything is imploding after there were such lofty expectations on them this season. But Velasquez, not a good starter. Load up on the Braves. On the other side, you have Huascar Ynoa, who normally I would stay away from the Padres, but on our slate today, Ynoa is kind of interesting. He looks like he is being lost in the shuffle here. How do you feel about Ynoa? And did I say enough bad things about Velasquez?
Yeah, Padres just got put in a bad spot where, they spent a lot of money on pitching. They couldn't really gamble too much with trades. They lost the Max trade. So they had to gamble on Jake Arrieta and Vince Velasquez, and that gamble did not quite pay off. How about that game for Max Fried last night? Maddox-esque, under 100 pitches, complete game, and only a couple of strikeouts. I think he had like 17 ground balls. It was an incredible performance, saving the bullpen. So if Ynoa couldn't go deep, they could tap into the bullpen. Braves are, of course, winning at the right time. The Padres losing at the wrong time. And it should be a game where the Braves come through. I, for one, Emac, I'm with you. Velasquez not great. Why are the Braves sitting on a 4.4 implied run total and what should be an afternoon game in their time zone? It feels like the Braves are getting shorted on that end against Velasquez. Ynoa, you mentioned him perhaps getting lost in the shuffle. Our top stack tool agrees with that. He has a 10.7% chance of being a top 2 pitcher, and right now sitting on 2.6% ownership. So a little bit of leverage to be had with those two numbers to throw Ynoa in the mix. The Padres are one of those teams that they have those names that you're scared to pitch against, but results wise, they really haven't been that menacing. So I don't mind getting to a little Ynoa. He does carry a lot of strikeout propensity. Overall in the season, a 27% K rate, a 12.6% swing and strike rate, and the Sierra's at 3.63, the expected ERA 4.17. So decent numbers to put him in Petco, and I don't mind throwing him in my mix as a tier 2 pitcher, letting him fall where he may. But yeah, the Braves offensively, I think they're getting lost in the sauce here, and only 2 guys are over 5K, Freeman and Albies. I'm fine with getting to Duvall, Eddie Rosario, Jorge Soler, guys like that. I think they do carry some value against a guy like Velasquez.
All right. So again, shout out to chat. They're on point. We've got Aaron D and Charlie G saying, "Hey, didn't Velasquez just pitch?" And I started thinking about, you know what? You're right. That seems weird. I'm dropping the link into chat. I usually just go off the ESPN game logs, and they had him pitching as last Friday. He actually did pitch 3 days ago. Had to go over here, call it up on the old Baseball Reference when I really want to get into all the in-depth stats. He did go on the 22nd. So that was, what was that? That was Wednesday. So he went last Friday, 67 pitches, Wednesday, 37 pitches. So perhaps he is the opener, and that they are going to kind of go with a little bit of a bullpen game, or maybe they insert a 1 or 2 inning reliever in front of him. He goes about 3 innings and is there. So thank you for calling that out. Nonetheless, still want to attack him, plus whomever is coming out of the bullpen. But good call out on that. We appreciate it. Thank you, Jeff.
He also
Aaron and Charlie. Thank you.
He also was just like not effective, so they had to yank him. So I don't know if they look at that as more of a bullpen game, but we do have Craig Stammen lined up to be a long reliever. Definitely better than Velasquez, but not somebody I'd run from. Still allows a hit per inning basically. I'm still on the Braves here, but maybe you don't get as many implied innings out of Velasquez. It's a tough spot for the Padres, man. I really did like them coming into the season, but geez, get put in that division. Good luck.
Yeah, and why the worldwide leader screwing up? I can't believe this. That just shakes me to my core. 3 more games. This is kind of our late slate. None of them are really that late. We've got 2 in the 8 o'clock hour, 1 in the 9 o'clock hour. The Dodgers at Arizona. The roof will be open tonight. Kershaw, more or less on a soft cap of around 80 pitches. That is my guess. They're starting to ramp him up, going from memory again. I think he went like upper 40s, low 60s. So I think, or maybe it was low 70s. I think 80 is about where he's going to be today. He can still get it done in that amount of time against the Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks a little bit better against lefties, in my opinion, than righties, just based upon who they have available to them, but nobody particularly terrifying. On the other side, you have Zach Attack, who we definitely should be attacking with the Dodgers. What do you like with this Chase Field battle?
So the first thing I like is the roof is open.
Yep.
And then, for us East Coasters, sometimes we forget that the time zone difference for these West Coast games, these are really afternoon games for them. So the environment plays a little bit different, especially when you start talking about the real West Coast games. But if the roof's going to be open in Chase Field, it's still over 90 degrees in Arizona. Their weather rules don't apply like the rest of the country. So this will easily be the most friendly hitting environment on the slate. And then Zach Gallen is a good pitcher, but a lot of people, it looks like, are going to be going to the Dodgers. We have the Dodgers as a 10% chance of being a top stack. Actually, they're not going to the Dodgers. We have them as a top stack, but not top owned, just 2.5% ownership. So if you believe in the Dodgers to get by the pitching stylings of Zach Allen, he's a good pitcher. Pitching like this field acts so much different when you are able to amplify the elements. The temperature's up, the humidor has a little less effect because of the open air, the temps being up, the heat being what it is. It's not climate controlled. So Dodgers do have a chance to put up a lot of runs. 5.6 is their implied run total right now. And I said it earlier, man, there's very few teams inspired more than the AL East triangle and more than the Dodgers and the Giants. They got to get wins because they're not fighting for they're fighting for the division, right? And that's the difference between relying on a 1-game win or a 3-game or 3 wins. So I like the Dodgers stack. Clayton Kershaw is on the bump. I don't think we expect a lot out of him. He did go 5 innings on the 19th, went to 74 pitches. So maybe they asked for a little bit more, get to 80, 85. But he's somebody you kind of want to be trepidatious with, but he looked really, really sharp in that game at Cincinnati, another hitter-friendly park. So I don't mind, taking the shot on Kershaw if you got that feeling in your bad knee with the storm coming in. But I think I'm going to be a little bit more hesitant on pitchers. And I do look at the offense to project a little bit better on both sides than normally.
All right. Oh, Twitter. It's not making me happy right now. No, it won't let me sign in. What the hell? Twitter, what are you doing?
This just in, Boomer tries computers live on air.
Okay, Boomer. There we are.
How does this Twitter work?
Where's the little bird? How do I feed it? I don't know. Well, they changed the sign-in page. I want to sign in. I am going to be signing in under Awesemo. I have that saved, but it wants me to put in a phone number. That's not going to help.
That 2FA action. Oh my God, you kids. Back in my day,
Get
we
off
needed
my
one
lawn.
password. Why do I need two passwords?
Well, that's just fun. Riveting, I know. Speaking of riveting, San Francisco at Colorado. San Francisco's second most home runs in the league right now, behind just Toronto. They're going to be going against John Gray. Been a whole lot of I believe there was a bit of a forearm issue in there. This is just the end of a season. It's a tough matchup against the Dodgers. Pardon me, I said that backwards. Against the Giants. Anthony Desclafani on the other side, little disco stew. We know we like to attack him with lefties. He's been much better against lefties this season. Tall order going into into Coors Field here. I won't be taking him out of my player pool. On the main slate, he will be a 10% capped guy. On the late slate, I'm okay going with him because we're running out of options. We know Kershaw's on a pitch limit. We've got Zach Gallen. Nobody really enticing there. He will be one of my main guys on that 3-game late slate. How do you want to approach this game, Gundacker?
So first of all, Giants look like they're in a good chance to put up runs. They have the highest run total, I think, on the entire day. Matchups are perceptually tougher, I guess, than maybe the results could be. John Gray this season at home, a 401 xFIP, not terrible. 1-4 K rate, a 200 average allowed, 1-2 home run per 9. So like those aren't like necessarily pick on me numbers. But the Giants in Coors Field, a team that leads the league in a lot of offensive categories, in top 3 at least. They're in a spot to put up runs according to Vegas. I think the numbers that strike me the most looking at our top stack tool is Colorado. We got Colorado projected to be the highest owned stack today, with a 16.6% field ownership on the stack and just a 6% chance of being a top stack. It's a lot of negative leverage there. And maybe that, you mentioned playing up to 10% Anthony Desclafani. Maybe that's a double lucrative number because of how negative probability wise the Rockies kind of project here. So be mulling that one over at 7K. You don't need a ton. 14 to 20 is a safe landing spot. With that said, Rockies at home, still a top offense in the league. And then this park being what it is, we got, higher temps than lately in Coors. I'm looking at 87 degrees. So it warms back up there for, bad things happen to good people, and good people in this case being the pitchers. So I'm in on playing every range of outcome. You can give me both offenses. You can give me a little Desclafani, not a ton. I probably don't get to John Gray, but at 6K, you treat him as a Ohtani at that point. Could he get you home run points? It's not impossible, but a little less than warm and fuzzy feeling by putting him in the lineup against the number 1 team in the league.
All right, final game of the night. We have Jose Barria going against the Mariners. The Mariners are going to be rolling out Mr. Anderson. The Andersons got tickets to the game. How'd they get tickets to the game? Gundacker, what are we going to do here? Jaime Barria and Jose Suarez, they're mirror images of each other. Both are control pitchers who limit walks but are below average strikeouts. They each allow just enough power that when the control's not there, they give up big innings, so they generally don't implode for entire games. Tonight, we're going to get Barria, the right-handed member of this tandem. I'm okay going to a couple of key Mariners. Of course, that would be Mitch Haniger and Kyle Seager. Kyle Seager, top 10 in RBIs this season with a career high. I think he just hit his 35th home run. That's pretty wild for the 34-year-old. If I'm going to expand from that, probably JP Crawford or Abraham Toro. I don't think we need to go all in because, again, Barria tends to give up a big inning, but not big games for this one. And we've got the Dodgers and we've got the Giants. And I guess let's just throw in the Rockies as well. So there are going to be a lot of other options here. I like the Mariners as a differentiation play on the late slate. I'm ambivalent on the main slate. What do you have to wrap up our game and talk to us about the Halos?
Yeah, just kind of a mediocre game all the way around. Tyler Anderson looking like he will be about 10-11% owned, up to 12%, kind of mirroring his top 2 pitcher percentage. If you are a Disco Stew enthusiast. We're looking at him about an 8% chance of being a top 2 pitcher with 1% ownership, and then Anderson, 10 to 11% chance of being a top 2 pitcher with mirrored ownership. So you might be able to get extra leverage on the 1% ownership on the Rockies being top stack, and maybe if you're not looking great early and you got some Tyler Anderson lineups, maybe you switch to Desclafani and hope for the best. So just kind of some in-action game theory to keep in the back of your mind. Matchup-wise, there's plenty of strikeouts in this projected Angels lineup. One thing I would look for is to see if they put Kurt Suzuki in the lineup over Max Stassi. Suzuki definitely a little bit more hit for average and power against lefties, and would strengthen the lineup against a guy like Tyler Anderson, who does allow some power, 164 homer per 9 this season to right-handed hitters. But generally speaking, there is some strikeouts to be had here. I think Anderson doesn't get the strikeouts at the rate I would like, just a 19.9% K rate on the season. But the Angels can definitely spot you one or two. Ohtani's dropped from a 6K guy to 5.3, which is, it feels a little bit more of a value for Ohtani. He hasn't been the same in the last month or so, but he's still got you a chance to swipe a bag and hit for a little power. So I don't mind looking his way as a one-off late night hammer. And then looking at the Mariner stack, you mentioned Yami Barria does have blow-up potential, but hasn't had the wheels fall all the way off, but 5.76 expected ERA, almost a 1.6 whip and a low K rate. Maybe this is a shot for that to actually happen. And I like the Mariners a little bit more than I should. Implied run total of 5. So we're talking top 4, top 5 run total on the slate, and they kind of get lost against some of those other guys. So if you believe that John Gray isn't that bad, that Zach Gallen isn't that bad, Kershaw isn't that bad, you can push back against the higher owned top 4 stacks here, and then maybe get a little bit freakier with these sub stacks. And there's a world where the Mariners maybe surprise some people. And no one really gets to the 4 to 5K Mariners with any level of consistency or confidence. But Ty France can hit for some power. You mentioned Seager's been having a great year. Haniger, Crawford, like just plenty of bats in this lineup that I wouldn't have too much of a problem getting to if I thought that the leverage there, because I think the matchup is.
All right, dust off the bomb detector. Going to ask you for a couple home run calls. I'm going to thank Jock Market for sponsoring our show. Reminder, if you guys have not yet signed up for Jock Market, you can have a lot of fun there. They have revolutionized daily fantasy sports. They've turned it into a stock market where the players are kind of like commodities. Their performances are anyway. If they're doing good, if they're doing bad, if they're doing mediocre, you can take advantage of all this. You can arbitrage this, buy, sell, hold their performances during the game. You can also jump in on the pre-game IPOs. It's a lot of fun. Definitely check that out. Sign up using the promo code Awesemo. They will give you a $50 deposit match up to your first $50. That is key. What do you have for us, Gundacker? Who's the bomb detector sniffing these days?
So on the early slate, Salvador Perez is the highest rating. Shocker, I know, but Tariq Skubal is a guy that can serve him up. McCutcheon also has a high grade here. Looking for some main slate goodness. Adam Duvall, Jorge Soler profiling well, but that might just be the specific that is the Vince Velasquez matchup. And if Velasquez was strictly an opener, maybe he didn't get there. And then surprisingly, I got a couple of twins in this in the detector today. Miguel Sano's up there, Josh Donaldson's there, but you guys know he's going to overcome the strikeout rate. So the one that I would agree with that doesn't include a big strikeout rate is probably Luis Robert. He's got a 415 number on the detector.
Breaks my heart that it's Luis Robert, not Luis Robert. It would be so much fun if he went by Robert, but he does not. I can confirm he does not.
That's how I at first when he was a call-up, I was calling him Robert. I
know.
What kind of a boring name is Robert? And then I was like, quickly I learned it was Robert.
It's sort of like Jamer Candelario. It's like, no, it's Heimer. No, Jamer. It's really Jamer. True or false? Adam Duvall, third in the league with 111 RBI.
I'm going to assume true.
Isn't that wild?
It is, especially since, he was with Miami for the first chunk there. Atlanta has done an incredible job.
It's some reclamation projects that turned out well for them.
Yeah, they had every right to give up when Acuna got injured, and now they're winning the division. So
yeah, we're like, oh, this is gonna be awesome for Jock Peterson. No, he doesn't make the lineup. It's Jorge Soler. It's Adam Duvall.
Dude, have you seen Jock? He looks chubby, man. I don't know. He got some stuff going on, but the other day he was at the plate. I thought it was Daniel Vogelbach for a second. I'm not even joking. I mean, I'm a big guy, but
5'11", 240, Dan Vogelbach.
He was looking chubby. And it was crazy because I was watching the D-backs broadcast and I thought it, and then they said it, and they were like, "Does he look a little bigger to you?" I was like, "Wow." I usually hear a little bit more respect from commentators, but yeah, Jock's noticeably bloated up a little bit.
All right, good times ahead. You can follow Gundacker on Twitter at Gundacker. I am at EMAC DFS. Check out College Football Live Before Lock coming up next with Matt Gajeski and Ben Raza. Follow Awesemo on Twitter at Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.